Nearly a week after he was bailed out of jail while facing sex abuse charges, R. Kelly was taken back into custody for failing to pay child support. He was detained hours after defending himself in his first television interview. Now, when asked about his relationship with underage women, this is what Robert Kelly had to say.
I don't look at much younger than me. I just look at legal. I just look at you're you, I'm me. Now, I don't know if you're married. I don't know. I don't know if you had a relationship. I don't know what I don't know. Mm-hmm. But one might be older than the other. Mm-hmm. One might be younger than the other. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I just look at legal. Okay? People, there are older men that like younger women.
Is that
there
you?
are younger women that like older men.
Are you an older man that likes younger women?
I'm an older man that love all women.
Okay.
I don't look at...
I'm looking at you. Mm-hmm. Because you got to give us some answers.
Joining us now. I don't have all the answers for this one.
And this is no laughing matter. It's just, I'm dumbfounded as I watched what you just heard and a whole lot more and more coming this morning. Joining us to break it all down, it's legal expert. She's the founder of Mobile General Counsel. It's friend of the show, Ashley Kirkwood. And I stare at you and I know you're thinking the same thing, like, Ashley, what did we just see?
What did we just
There's a lot of reaction to this interview with Gayle King, who did a phenomenal job conducting herself throughout this, which should be a nice side story to it, because nothing else is nice after that. What did you make of this?
Poor decision making. It was a poor decision to do this interview. And oftentimes, you know, we've talked about the Jussie case and we're talking about this case now. I'm always bewildered when celebrities use the media with an active case going on, especially when they make so many statements that are perceived to not be rehearsed or just not to be well thought out.
Yeah. So that was my thing with watching it, Ashley. I just was like, where's the PR team? Where's the attorney?
And the publicist was there.
If you do go to the media, which from you're advising that you should just never do it with an active case. However, you can use that to your advantage, but it just seemed like there was no preparation for this interview, that he was just out there winging it, and he's going to be fine and beat this case like he beat the last one.
Or if you do it strategically. We've seen instances in which celebrities have done interviews with their attorney.
Okay.
So that when it gets a little, when it goes left, you can look to your attorney. Well, I can't, or the attorney would step in. You know what? My client can't talk about that at this moment.
There were some words that were trigger words for me in terms of red flags. And you can address one, you can address both here. But try and help me out. When he said, I beat those cases, he kept using the word beat, which says to me, I was guilty, but somehow I won. And then the other one was, as he was going through it, and he kept saying, you know, these parents, they sold me these girls. Human trafficking sticks out to me when you're saying sold them to me. They were on board with this. Those were two words that were used, and I was like, what is he saying?
So could any of those comments implicate him with anything?
Right?
Well, okay, so the first comment that you brought up, I beat the case. Essentially, he did, right? He was acquitted, which means he was found not guilty. So in his mind, when you're a criminal defendant, there are a lot of people. I used to represent men who are incarcerated. They would always utilize those terms, beat the case, I won the case, because when you're a defendant, it's either win or lose. You're not looking at it in terms of, okay, I was proven innocent, because that's not necessarily what happened. What actually happened was he was acquitted. He essentially beat the case. That's what happened, whether you're guilty or innocent. So that terminology, to me, after working with men who've been, that wasn't so problematic as some of the other things. Now, saying the parents sold me the girls. Okay, well, that's problematic for two reasons. One, people can no longer be sold legally in this country, right? So whether or not they sold you the girls, if you bought what they were selling, that's a problem. The other issue is making allegations like that without proof could be slanderous. So if I were, you know, one of the parents, I'd be saying, oh, no. That statement within itself could get him in some trouble with them if he has no proof of that. Now, if he does have proof that these girls were actually sold, then you are looking at things like, okay, well, what were they sold for? Is this an issue of human trafficking? Was he taking underage girls across state lines? What are the legal implications there? So it did not help him, which is why I say, you know, you as a publicist, as an attorney, you know your client best when you're good at your job. So you know, I've had clients where I'm like, okay, maybe they could do a little interview. I've had other clients where I'm like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like, they cannot do an interview. And it's your job as an attorney to prep them for the emotional roller coaster that they're going to go on when being questioned. If this was any indication of how he'll be on stand,
Right.
this is telling and problematic. Because what you do when you're prepping a client for trial, you want them to appear calm no matter what.
Right.
Because negative things are going to come out. You're not going to have the right answer to every question. So what you prep your client to do is say yes or no. If any explanation is needed, you may say, you can expound, but it should be no longer than a sentence.
Right.
Because you don't want to draw attention to the questions that you can't answer. If she said, now in this instance, it's a little bit more complicated because you're looking at criminal implications here. There was no he could not have said, what he said, I've never been with anyone under the age of 17, which he later massaged to me. He later explained that a little bit more. But in any event, he wasn't going to get a right. I couldn't imagine how he thought this interview was going to help him. Outside of just getting the people that support him more riled up to support him and getting the people who don't support him more evidence as to why they believe he's a repeated predator.
They're just using this loud, boisterous approach, as well as his attorney, Steve Greenberg. And it's like, you can't approach a sensitive women's issue with this male bravado approach. It's just
And arrogance.
Yeah,
you can't.
Really quick, because we gotta let you go, is Joycelyn's phone call, Joycelyn Savage, to her parents. It seems scripted as we saw the tape and the video of that. Do you anticipate that these will be women who testify in this potential case? What will the role play with them? Because it seemed like she was being fed words to say, she kept saying, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
No.
Her sister said hello, and there's a pause, almost like maybe emotion overtook her, but she had to stick on script. That's how I took it.
Yeah, that was heartfelt, and there were some moments in that seemed more authentic than others in terms of what happened with the sister. I don't know whether they'll testify. I think hopefully his team will look at this interview and say, okay, we have so much evidence now of how people will appear in front of the camera, how they may potentially appear in front of a jury. Hopefully they take all of this evidence, they hire some jury experts to analyze what's already out there, and they make a decision as to what could be in his best interest.
Yeah.
But either way, my hope is that the survivors of what he has potentially or been alleged or been accused of putting on these victims, I hope that they are able to get the justice that they deserve.
Yeah.